Hi again, Panther fans, and welcome to this week's Georgia State Sports Update. (41-21) the final score here at the Georgia Dome. Georgia State a winner, their first win of the season. They beat the Bobcats of Texas State. Big day for a lot of different Georgia State players. Dave Cohen joined here at the Georgia Dome in this opening segment by Harper LaBelle and Brandon Leak. And Harper, it got off to a little bit of a rough start today. Panthers got down by 2 touchdowns early, but to Georgia State's credit, once again, the defense kind of rose to the occasion, and the offense was there today, both on the ground and in the air.
Yeah, a couple of quick touchdowns and then a punt return for a touchdown, and it could have been a very, very difficult day for the Panthers. But they came back one score at a time, 31 unanswered points, and that to me was just a great credit to what the offense was doing. The plays were working, big plays, small plays, working the ball around, but the offensive line did a fantastic job. Connor Manning was able to get the team back in position to where they could score, get back in the ball game, and next thing you know, it was out of hand.
Brandon, we talked in the pregame on radio about how well the defense had played at Wisconsin and at Appalachian State. Granted, Panthers did not win either of those games. Again, I was a little worried early on because Texas State moved the ball right up and down the field those first 2 possessions and jumped out to that early lead.
Well, our bread and butter has been defense the first few weeks of the season, and the first 2 possessions, Texas State had more than 160 yards of total offense. So I think you were worried, and I think Coach Miles was worried as well. But I think the key to this game was poise. Even being down early, not having your way early, really having to hunker down and stay aggressive but be efficient worked out for the Panthers. And I think what we saw, to Harper's point, with the 31 answered points was the defense settling down, the offensive line giving Connor Manning time to throw, and then the offense settling down and just getting into a rhythm that was more conducive for them moving the chains. When the Panthers move the chains and get into the red zone, they typically score points. And so that's what we saw this afternoon, and hopefully we'll see that going forward, as Connor Manning had a great season so far as he's come in for his first few weeks as a Panther, but today was his best game as a Panther so far.
Well, let's be honest. It could be the play of the game, and it was negated by a penalty. It was the kick return for Texas State that would have put them up 21-0. Thankfully, the penalty was there. They take the 6 points off the board, and as Georgia State continues, the Panthers get on the scoreboard. But had they gone up 21-0, we might not be here talking about a 41-21 win.
Well, you could point back to that play, and that might be the play of the season. You're talking about at that point, you are an 0-4 team, and you could be down 21-0 at home, and now you can't run the ball, and you can't really run all of the plays that you'd like to run. So instead, you're able to shake that off, get them off the field, and score. The next thing you know, you're able to run the ball, and the Panthers nearly rushing for 200 yards is something we have not seen. Throw that in with the 340 that Connor Manning throws for, and you have what all coaches, and especially Coach Trent Miles, is looking for: balance.
You go back to the touchdown again for them, Harper, that was taken off the scoreboard because of the penalty. Georgia State bounces right back, puts together a nice long drive, 11 plays, 91 yards, capped by a Connor Manning 1-yard touchdown run, and now you got a new ball game.
Well, that, and just think about how he was able to distribute the ball evenly to most of the receivers. Robert Davis got 9 receptions. The tight ends had 6. Remember, Ari Wirtz had 3, and Keith Rucker had 3 with the touchdown that he was able to get as well. That, to me, was one of the big keys in his ability. I mentioned the offensive line earlier. Give that man time to throw. Give any quarterback time to throw. You got a chance to win a ball game. And that was, again, one of the turning points. Yes, that penalty definitely was something that we needed to seriously consider as one of the key points in the season thus far. But the victory itself was great. It's nice to turn things around on that, and let's pivot on that and take that into Troy.
Connor Manning, 340 yards passing. The surprise, though, 196 yards being able to run the football today. Again, you just were complimenting the offensive line. They did an outstanding job for most of the day today. But, we're going to need those kind of yards going forward at Troy next Saturday. And right now they're sitting atop the league in the Sun Belt Conference. We're going to need a repeat performance and be able to have, a little bit more of a balance, run to pass, pass to run as we move along.
Yeah, and Brandon mentioned this a little earlier, and especially during the game, 200 yards offensively just from running. That's awesome, and we haven't done that in a long while. So being able to be just a few yards shy of that, that's going to be something that Troy's going to have to look at. How are we going to play in the box? Are we going to have to put a 7th or 8th guy in there? And if you do, then we should be able to take advantage of that offensively, go with a little play action and try to go over the top with that. But we have a week to get that all figured out. But yes, there's a lot of things that Troy has to look at. They're a good team. They're much better than what they've been in the past couple years.
I'm not comparing Connor Manning at all to Nick Arbuckle, but, throughout the second quarter and the second half, I was having Panther football flashbacks to Georgia State's ability to score points and move the football just like Nick was out there. But it was Connor, and Connor did a great job today.
Looked like a little bit of Nicky Ice out there on the field. But I think what was most important was he was confident in his throws. When you look at the throws that he missed earlier in the season, he didn't look quite as confident in some of those misses today. Once he got it rolling, he was confident. He really threw his out routes. He hit the guys over the middle of the field. And most importantly, I think he gave his receivers a chance to run after the catch. And when you do that and you have playmakers, you're going to get some big plays. And you look at the explosive plays. Robert Davis, the first play right out of the halftime break when he comes in and scores the touchdown. Huge chunk yard plays because he was able to step into his throws and be confident where he wanted to go with the ball. So kudos to him and the offensive line who really kept him clean for most of the game. And he did a very good job of keeping the tempo and the rhythm where it needed to be in the Panthers' favor.
Some big plays and players on the defensive side of the football today. Mackendy Cheridor had 7 tackles. He ended up with 2.5 sacks, 3.5 tackles for loss. He was playing Mackendy Cheridor style football, and it's great to see that. We're going to need that the rest of the way as well.
He made some plays that we haven't seen in a while. Yep. And you throw in Jalen Lawrence missing a sack, a couple other things. But defense wins championships. The defense is playing much better right now than we've seen in a while.
Brandon, finally, we just talk overall about a Georgia State football team that came in at 0-4, just needed a win, just needed something positive to happen, and it did today.
Well, you don't get wins unless everybody is a part of it, and I think to Harper's point about the defense and what we saw out of McKinney, you saw sack fumbles, you saw interceptions in the end zone. Those are wins for defense, for the defense. You look at the kicking game. They came after our punter, Brandon Wright, a couple of times. He got it off with it looked like, 12, 13 guys on the field coming after him, and then the offense scored. You throw in the fact that Rohir Tinlohouse was perfect in his field goal opportunities. Offense, defense, special teams, everybody was a contributor in the win, and so hopefully they can look at the good things on tape and find a way to package those things up earlier in the game so we don't have to be coming back from a big deficit on the road next week in Troy.
All right, again, 41-21 the final score here at the Georgia Dome. Georgia State now 1-4 heading to Troy next Saturday. Time now here in the Georgia State Sports Update. We'll take a look at some of the highlights from Georgia State and Texas State here in the Georgia Dome. Back here in the Georgia State Sports Update, we're at the Georgia Dome and joined right now by former Georgia State place kicker, now in the National Football League with the New Orleans Saints. That's Will Lutz, and great to have you back in the Georgia Dome. It's been quite a whirlwind for you here in the recent months after leaving Georgia State, graduating, and spending some time in camp with the Ravens, and now with the New Orleans Saints. It's all come and gone pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's been a while, last 4.5, 5 months for me, going from knowing I probably wasn't going to be with Baltimore to not really knowing what's next, coming back here and signing with New Orleans. It's been a pretty awesome ride so far.
Kicking, as you know better than I do, can be a little bit strenuous. In that you knew the situation in Baltimore, did that allow you to be a little more relaxed with what your situation was?
Oh, absolutely. Going in, I knew that, Justin Tucker was their guy for the long term, but I didn't really have much to lose there. So it allowed me to be comfortable, not have too much pressure on me and just take everything in. So it was awesome.
So the Saints ended up cutting there and releasing their kicker, and next thing you know, you're the starting place kicker for the New Orleans Saints. Was it a little surreal that first time you went out there?
Yeah, when they gave me the workout, I kind of just saw it as a add me to the list guy kind of workout. So when my agent called me, I was in the hotel room and they told me they signed me. You just kind of start shaking and realizing it's a really surreal moment. And I think that first practice, it really hit me. It finally hit me, even being in Baltimore, it finally hit me that I was in the NFL. And it was just an awesome moment.
One thing I think you got to take to heart, and I've heard this a couple of times, is that New Orleans Saints head coach Sean Payton really, really likes you and really, really has a lot of confidence in you, which has to put you at ease a little bit.
Yeah, when you got the right people on your side, it's a good thing. And considering he's the head coach, it's a good thing. I've done well since I've been there, and he continues to instill confidence in me, and it gives confidence for myself. So hopefully it keeps going well.
All right, finally, now you've made it. Now you got to put in the work, which I know you do because you did it here while you were at Georgia State, but put in the work to stay there and be successful.
Yeah, it's just about making the next kick. You can't think about what's happened in the past, and take it kick by kick, you'll be fine.
We'll appreciate it. Great having you back in the Georgia Dome. We'll be watching. Make every kick.
Of course. Thank you.
All right, I want to thank former Georgia State place kicker, current starting place kicker with the New Orleans Saints, Will Lutz, joining us here on the Georgia State Sports Update.
A father-son bond is never meant to be broken. As a kid, you do things like throw the ball in the yard, go fishing, or even watch your favorite team together. Now, football coaches Rick and Jesse Mincer get to share the game they love, coaching on the same sidelines.
It's ironic that it's not a funny story, but the first game we ever did coach together was here in Atlanta against Georgia Tech. When I was at Notre Dame, we opened with Georgia Tech, at least early on the schedule. So it's kind of ironic that we're joining forces back here.
Rick Mincer's son, Jesse, says the hiring of his dad was the perfect timing for their family.
It was awesome. It was a great thing. One, at the time, my wife was pregnant, so having his first grandchild. So that, like I said, that part of it is probably the most enjoyable, the most thing that kind of gives us the best feeling out of this whole deal. And then the football side of it, like I said, having somebody with that experience, with that background, to come in and help us continue to build this program the right way, it's been a huge asset.
Jesse is the defensive coordinator. His dad is the defensive line coach. So that means Jesse is now the boss of his dad and has the final say-so of the defense.
That's kind of cool. I kind of have the last hammer, so to speak. But we've had a lot of fun with it. He's, like I said, he's a great resource. Just about everything that we do, we can glamor on and kind of come up with together. So that part has just been so much fun to kind of put our minds together and do some great things.
Well, it's got its great opportunities and challenges at the same time because I'm a take charge type of guy. But as I get into the fourth quarter of my life and my career, then I want to try to enjoy the journey a little bit more along the way. So being around the grandbaby and my daughter-in-law, just socially living in Midtown, I really am enjoying where I'm at this particular stage. Just turned 62 years old on Tuesday. I've got just the same amount of fire and passion to run my own defenses and everything, but I don't have to do all the work. I mean, it takes a hard job to run a defense. So I'm kind of a resource guy and an idea guy and a fellow teacher on the staff, but he still calls the game, formulates the game plan, puts it together. And there's labor involved in that, and it's labor intense. And so I just said, that's easy, let him do it. And but that's his job, that's his title, that's his responsibility. I'm just doing all I can to be an assistant to help that be as smooth as it possibly can be.
Now that Jesse is calling the shots, the question now is who's picking up the tab for dinner?
Oh, he should be paying. He's making all the big money. But no, that's that we share those kinds of things. But anything I can do to help my family, and that's really, just put football aside, just still my family we're talking about here. And he's still my son, my daughter-in-law, my grandchild, and I'll do anything and everything I can to help them and to spoil my grandbaby. So that's what I'm here to do.
The decades of experience Rick has coaching at the professional and college level has made his son's job much easier.
I mean, somebody that's coached 30 plus years, been a head coach, been a D coordinator, been in the NFL, and a lot of times been in the same type of system that we're running now. A lot of it came from what he started. So that resource, whether it was my dad or not, having somebody with that background and that experience has brought a tremendous impact, particularly up front. I think our D-line has learned so much just about how the whole big picture fits. Sometimes those guys just get stuck in their own little world, and I think they've learned a lot about how all the pieces fit together, how important their role is within the structure of the defense, and so that's been great.
Well, I think Jess is well suited for today's millennials, if you will, the youngsters coming along. He's much more not laid back, but he's not laid back at all, but there's an even killedness to him. There's a kindness and a soft side to him that relates to the players. I can relate to the players, but it's in a different way. And I was raised in a different generation, but I've been around 18 to 22-year-olds most of my life. And so I'm just trying to impart into them the work ethic and the wisdom and the knowledge that I've learned over 40 years. So your clients never change, your students never change. They're always kids 18 to 22. And maybe I'm the guy that's becoming more and more of a dinosaur. But I love coaching, I love my guys. I live by myself, so outside of my immediate family, of family time, my guys now are those guys in my room. And that's what I really love to get into and impart and teach those guys. I'm my most lonely when we don't have football. I'm my most happy when we're in season coaching football or spring practice.
Thanks, Jared, and joining us in studio right now as we continue on the Georgia State Sports Update, head football coach Trent Miles. Coach, great to have you in studio. 41-21 the final score. Georgia State a win over Texas State. Texas State got off to a quick start, but they talk about adjustments in football, and sometimes you think it's just coach speak. It wasn't coach speak on Saturday. Georgia State adjusted and for the most part shut them down for the rest of the football game.
Yeah, I thought our defense did an outstanding job after the first two series. We had too many missed assignments. We had too many missed tackles. We only gave them 6 third down conversions in the entire game, and 3 of those came in the first 2 series of the game.
Yeah.
So our defense did a great job, and my hat's off to how hard our players played. And we got production out of the offense. Nobody panicked. We got down 14-0, and our offense settled in, and Connor Manning had his best outing, and we had a lot of guys play really well, and the offensive line blocked well, and we were able to protect him and run the ball, and we showed a glimpse of what we truly can be.
What did Texas State do, or what were they doing? Was it just the up-tempo fashion of their offense that defensively we kind of had to catch up to?
They tried to sneak in a few different route combinations that they hadn't shown on film, and that's why you once you recognize the formation and you get them over to the side, you're able to make adjustments. And I thought Coach Mincer did a great job of getting guys into the right spots to stop what they were doing and force them into to do what we had actually game planned for. And when you come into the game and you're doing things that you normally don't do, once you take that away from them, they've got to do the things that's what they do. And we were able to shut that down.
How about McKendy Cheridor, starting defensive end, Sun Belt Conference Defensive Player of the Week honors. He ends up with 7 tackles, also came away with 2.5 sacks and 3.5 tackles for loss. It seemed like on the radio every time we were calling a play defensively, McKendy's name somehow snuck into the play call.
He has that type of ability. He took over the game, especially in the fourth quarter on the defensive side, and it was great to see. The thing about it is he can do that all the time. So now we've got to get that going from him all the time. But it was great to see, and I think a lot of the guys on defense fed off of that. And Shawanye Lawrence had an outstanding game up front. Shandon Sullivan and Jerome Smith played extremely well. So we were happy. And then we had some young guys like Ced Stone and Martarius Allen and Terry Thomas performed very well. So once our guys feel comfortable and confident and they get settled in the game and their abilities can take over, they've got a chance to be successful.
Connor Manning, as Coach mentioned, had a great day, 340 yards passing. Robert Davis, one of his favorite targets, tied a career-high 9 catches, 149 yards, and a home run ball. First play in the second half, 55 yards downfield.
That was a great job by Luke Heward designing that at halftime and coming out and wanting to take a shot to extend the lead, and felt that it was something he saw in the box that we could get, and it worked out well.
Again, highlighting some of the superlatives, another young guy who has been in the program now 2 years, but as you've told me on more than one occasion, basically a freshman, and that's your punter, Brandon Wright, he had a great day punting the football. 4 punts, an average of just under 50 yards a kick. I mean, he was kicking the ball really, really well.
Brandon's kicking the ball with a lot of confidence right now and a lot of focus. So when you have those two things and he has the natural leg to do it, it's exciting to see.
And as far as the running game goes, Kyler Neal ends up rushing 13 times, 89 yards, but you were able to get the ball in the hands of a number of different guys. You said running back by committee, but Kyler started, had the most carries, but a lot of guys were able to get their hands on the ball.
Darius Stubbs, I thought, ran well. Kendrick Dorn ran well. Trey Barnett ran well. So that's a lot of backs to use. We'll use them in different things, but we've got to find a way to continue to do that, because once we can run the ball, it just helps our passing game tremendously.
You know, Trey Barnett, I think you told me, is he the fastest guy on the football team right now?
There's some arguments over that.
Because now that Glenn Smith's moved up to kind of take Penny's spot as a receiver, Trey was returning kicks.
Well, Shandon and Jerome Smith argue that too. So, we've got some guys that we feel can run, and Trey's one of them, and he's a excellent young man that runs the ball with a purpose, and he's got a lot of speed to get out on the perimeter.
How about Jerome Smith, Coach? Another interception, his third of the year.
Great break on the ball. I mean, it showed, his technique. What a job that Eric Lewis has done with working with those guys, and the technique that he had to make the break on the ball is what got him there.
All right, let's take a look at some of the highlights from the Georgia Dome this past Saturday. Georgia State, a winner over Texas State. The final score, 41-21. Second down and 10. Little short pitch here to Trey Barnett. Cross the 30, 35, 40. Barnett still on his feet, drags 2 white jerseys with him. First down run up to the Georgia State 45-yard line. Has a wideout. Manning across the middle, got a man, Ari Wirtz. It's caught at the 20-yard line down to the 18. First down, Georgia State. And Manning on the keeper into the end zone. Touchdown, Georgia State. Looks here to the near side, turns, go to the other side. Intercepted by Georgia State. Who got it? Over on the other side, Jerome Smith. Kendrick Dorn. They'll throw across the middle. Caught! Touchdown, Georgia State. 45, Keith Rucker. 8 yards out on a pass from Connor Manning. Jones, there's the pitch, and they're not going to get it. Great job by McKendy Cheridor. Faking a handoff, play action across the middle. Caught by Rucker. And Keith gets sandwich tackled at the 35. Trey Barnett going to take the handoff. Double handoff. It's going to be Glenn Smith. 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Georgia State on a double reverse. Glenn Smith scampers 32 yards into the end zone down the near sideline. Shotgun snap here on 3rd and 1. Kyler Neal's got it. 30, 35, 40. Stays on his feet. 45 across midfield. 45, 40. And Kyler Neal gets run out of bounds on the far sideline. Manning play action across the middle. Complete, Ari Wirtz, 45-40, 35-30. Struggling to stay on his feet. And he's dragged down just outside the 20-yard line. Handed off to Kyler Neal into the end zone. Touchdown, Georgia State. Kyler Neal running right in behind left guard. 3rd down and 11. Play action. Jones is going to get hit as he throws the football. And it's loose, and Georgia State's got it. He's got time. He's got a lot of time. Now he's going to run and roll here to the near side. He's going to throw on the run, and it's intercepted in the end zone by Chandon Sullivan. Again, the final score at the Georgia Dome, the Georgia State Panthers beating Texas State 41-21. First win of the season for the Panthers, and a quick turnaround. It doesn't get any easier. On the road this coming weekend, Saturday, in Troy, Alabama, against what is the Troy Trojans, the first-place team in the league right now.
On their homecoming, so it would be a great crowd. This is an excellent football team. I've seen not everybody in our conference on film yet, but I have seen them and a couple others, and this is the best team that we've played in the conference so far as the way they're playing. They're doing a great job with their athleticism. They've got a quarterback that's with a lot of experience, is playing really well. Their only loss has been at Clemson by 6 points, and they're very talented, long on defense, and very athletic, and it's exciting. game for our players to show up, and you'll get the best out of us because our guys will show up and play.
You know, it's nice to see, Coach, and not that it's not like this all the time, but, you know, coming off the performance against Texas State, you go out to practice now this past week, and it's been, you can tell everybody has, you know, there's a little bit more energy out there. I mean, a win does a lot for everybody surrounding the program.
For everybody, and away from the program. It does it for student body, for faculty that have pride in the school, for fans, for wives, and for your kids, and for everybody. So even my dog was walking around really happy this week. So, you know, we've got to keep that momentum going, and the only way to do that is to go into Troy and play a mistake-free game with a lot of intensity and focus and physical.
You know, we talked about Connor Manning in the last segment, and I remember we had him on the radio after the Wisconsin game and how he was able to get into a rhythm. He was not able to get into that rhythm at App State, and then really found it against Texas State. Hopefully he's turned the corner and, you know, feels comfortable in the offense. I mean, he's only been here now 5 games.
He's much improved, and, you know, the App State game, it wasn't just his fault. I mean, there were some reasons why he couldn't get into a rhythm that weren't his fault. So those things should be fixed, and, you know, we've just got to have a great week of practice and go out there and play, lay it all on the line and play a physical game, but a smart game, and take care of the football.
All right, Georgia State on the road this Saturday against the Troy Trojans in Troy, Alabama. Time now, questions for Georgia State's head football coach, Trent Miles.
Hi, my name is Grayson, and I want to ask the coach something. What do you eat before the game?
What I eat before the game is usually what the team eats. We eat a pregame meal 3 hours before the game of grilled chicken, pasta, salad, and some rolls. I don't eat a lot before the game. I can't really do that. I've got to spend time on a treadmill. But that's what the team eats, and I try to eat with them.
Hey, Coach. My name is Daphne Bailey. I would like to know, what do you do in your off season?
What I do in my off season, there really is no off season. We get a couple weeks with our families, but you know, we spend the month of June with one-day camps and getting ready for the season. We spend the month of July now with the new rules recruiting, and I'll take a couple weeks with my wife and kids, and we'll go see family, and we usually head to the beach.
How you doing, Coach? My name is Devon Myrick, and I want to ask you, how do you plan on keeping all this talent here in Georgia?
How do I plan on keeping the talent in Georgia, all of the talent? Well, we're not going to keep all of it here, but there are so many people that recruit here, but there's a lot of good players here that are enough to go around. So what we do is we get kids on campus, young men on campus and their families. We let them meet the staff. We get them around our players. The biggest selling point that we have are our players in that locker room. And you know, we talk about Turner Field. We talk about what a great education they've got. But the thing that Georgia State has that we use is the fact that we've got great people here, our administration, our student body, our student athletes, and because that's what at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's not about buildings. It's not about weather. It's about the people that are there that make the institution.
All right, Coach, good questions this week. Hopefully it's been a good week of practice, and we'll see you in Troy on Saturday.
I'd look forward to it.
All right, I want to thank head coach Trent Miles coming in, joining us here on the Georgia State Sports Update. Time now to take a look at what's coming up on the schedule. On Monday and Tuesday, October 17th and 18th, takes place all day. Men's golf hosting the Autotrader.com Collegiate Classic. That's at the Berkeley Hills Country Club. And Tuesday, October 18th, 7 p.m., men's soccer hosting Jacksonville out at the GSU Soccer Complex at Panthersville. That'll do it for this week's show. For Coach Miles, all of our guests, and for the entire crew, I'm Dave Cohen. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you here next week on the Georgia State Sports Update.